Hey guys, my name is Dayvon, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Slamurai in Neo Soul. Let's do it. So first off, we're going to talk about how to achieve a Neo Soul tone. Neo Soul is a genre that came out in the 90s with artists like Lauryn Hill and Erykah Badu. And over time, just like any genre, has evolved to where you hear it influenced in bands like Chon, Polyphia in the modern day age. So what are we really looking for when we're looking for a Neo Soul sound? The general tone of Neo Soul is a very warm, inviting, buttery, just really smooth tone. So most of the time we want to cut off some of the high end in our treble, give our bass just a little bit of boost and add some clarity with the middle, just so it gives an overall just really warm, inviting tone. Most Neo Soul guitar players are playing on the neck position, and common guitars you can find in Neo Soul are Strats, T-bodies like Tellys, something that just really gives a really nice neck position sound. Overall, when you're EQing Neo Soul, you want to be really careful because every guitar sounds completely different with different woods. So you want to cater to your guitar and what it sounds like, but you're really just looking for that buttery, really just creamy goodness. Alongside with those common guitars that you can find in Neo Soul, such as Strats and T-bodies, another huge part of Neo Soul's overall tone is the pickups, such as single coils and split coils. You can find those a lot within the genre. And to top it all off, the last thing we're gonna add within the genre is textures, with things such as overdrives and crunch. And the biggest part of this, and the biggest mentality to have when trying to add some texture to your Neo Soul sound, is less is more. It's totally a texture thing. You don't wanna go crazy with it because then you're borderline touching a completely different genre, and you can add a lot of just unnecessary sound that won't cater to what you're trying to do. But you do want to add just enough to where it's heard and it sticks through the mix. All right, with all that being said, let's head over to our setup and start dialing in our Neo Soul tone. Okay, so now we are at our setup and we're going to start dialing some things in. We're going to be using the FGN Odessey, and this is equipped with Seymour Duncan pickups. That's going to be going into our Slamurai, and then that is going into our JCM 2000 by Marshall. All of that is going into the Universal Audio aux box, and then from there we're going into the Apollo. Okay, so right now the amp and everything is set at 12 o'clock, and we're going to go ahead and try to dial some stuff in. So right now we are on completely clean. Let's go ahead and play some stuff and see what that sounds like. So, not bad. What I like to do before we even get to our overdrive pedal is add just a little bit of crunch, bring the volume up a little bit, and just add a little bit of that texture that I was talking about in the previous segment. So let's go ahead and turn on our crunch channel, and then we're gonna dial that in. So that button right there, and now let's see what that sounds like. So that sounds pretty good. I think there's just a little bit too much drive, especially since we're going to be using the Slamurai. It's going to become a little bit too grainy for what we're trying to do in Neo Soul. So we're going to pull back some of that gain just a little bit, so that way it doesn't compete with the Slamurai. So I'm going to turn that down to about 9, 10 o'clock. Let's see how that sounds. That right there is perfect. It's buttery. It is the exact same tone that we're looking for this genre. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mess with the EQ a little bit on the amp before we get to the Slamurai. The great thing about the Slamurai is that it has a 3-band EQ that we'll talk about a little bit later, but I'm going to touch the EQ just a little bit here to dial that in as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So first thing we want to do is we want to get rid of a little bit of that treble. And then we're going to add just a little bit of bass and some middle as well. Because in neo soul, we really want that warm, inviting tone. And this also depends on your guitar as well. Every guitar is a little bit different, so you'll want to dial it in according to that. But for this guitar in specific, we want to dial back the treble, and we want to add just a little bit of bass and a little bit of middle. So treble is about at 11 o'clock, middle is about at 1, and then bass is a little bit in between 12 and 1. So that right there sounds pretty good to me for our clean channel. So next we're going to move into our Slamurai, and we're going to add that extra gain with the overdrive to make a complete tone for a different sound that we're looking for in neo soul. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. Right now, all of the settings are at 12 o'clock. So one thing that a lot of people use overdrive pedals for is a boost in volume. What I like to do is volume match it with my clean, so that way if I decide to turn the pedal on or off, I don't either gain a lot of volume or lose a lot of volume. I like to keep it a little bit consistent because I know that I like switching it up in different phrases. So right off the bat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mess with the level side of things to make sure that the volume is consistent overall between the Slamurai and the amp. Right now our Slamurai is at 12. I'm going to turn it back just a little bit. Okay, it's about sitting a little bit in between 7 and 8. So that's a little bit closer, but I still think it's a little too hot, so I'm going to dial it back just a little bit more. That right there sounds pretty close to me to when it did when it was clean. Let's go ahead and turn it off just to make sure that it is. So overall, it's a little bit louder, but I'm perfectly fine with where it's at right now. Just gives it that little bit extra of a punch, and it has a little bit more of that texture that we were talking about previously. So now what I'm going to move on to is the 3-band EQ that's on the Slamurai. This is honestly one of my favorite functions on this pedal because it really allows you to dial in your exact tone that you want. So right now it's a little too trebly. It has a little too much of that sparkle. So I want to bring that down again. And then I don't want to turn up the bass because I feel like it's going to add just mud with our clean EQ. So I'm actually going to do just a slight cut on the bass and then bring up a little bit more presence with the middle. So right now, treble is at about 11. Bass is about at the same, and then middle is almost touching 1 o'clock. Let's see how that sounds. Where that's at. I want to add just a little bit more drive, a little bit more crunch to really separate it from the clean tone. So I'm going to go ahead and try that out right now. And let's see how that sounds. So that's a little too much. Dial it back just a little bit more. It's almost touching 12. Just a tiny little bit. Everything is just texture with what I'm going for. So let's try that. So overall, that sounds pretty good to me. So let's go ahead and jump right in and see what it sounds like in a full mix. Thank you guys for checking out the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you learned a little bit more about neo soul and how to dial in the tone for that genre. If you like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on the notifications by ringing that little bell, and comment down below what you either learned about neo soul, how you dial in your neo soul settings, or what genres you like us to do next. Once again, my name is Dayvon, and I'll see you guys in the next video.